I want to now go to our keynoter, State Rep Casey Weinstein. Casey happens to be my state rep where I live, and I can tell you he's a true public servant, cares about the community. He's always out there. When people are having problems, he's there to console them. He truly cares about people. And he also cares about cannabis as well, and rational cannabis regulation and laws. So I want to have Casey come up and give his perspective before we get to our panel. So thank you, Casey.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks so much for having me here. This is awesome. Jim, Geoff, Mike, Tim, these guys have been wonderful sort of mentors and guides for me over the last few years in this industry. For marijuana and legalization and medical marijuana in general, I came to the issue pretty early. When I was in high school, my mom was diagnosed with MS, and I grew up in New Mexico. I think I'm the only Ohioan from New Mexico. Any other? We're going to test that theory. No, there's none of you who are from New Mexico. I joined the Air Force, and they moved me all over, and I ended up in Ohio, so that's how I got here. But my mom was suffering from multiple sclerosis, and New Mexico was pretty early to establish a medical market, and that really benefited her and continues to benefit her. So when I was elected to City Council in Hudson, Ohio, which is a little town between Cleveland and Akron in the district that I represent, 34th District, at the time we were starting to look at legalization and allowing medical dispensaries and things like that. And it was a 6-1 vote. I was the one yes vote on Hudson Council. It's one of these suburbs where it's kind of like a NIMBY situation. They don't want to allow the industry into their community, and that was 2016. And I watched, then we had a sort of a flawed amendment that made the ballot, I think later that year, that didn't pass. But I watched over the next few years, and it was just a few years, the narrative and public opinion dramatically shift like I have never seen, I think, in any issue that I've dealt with since I've been in politics. And to the point where, we had issue 2 last year, and the public was able to weigh in overwhelmingly and overcome the structured and rigged, gerrymandered legislature to allow the public will to legalize this for the state, which is just a fantastic story and a win for so many different stakeholder groups and so many communities. So it's been a really fascinating journey. But when I got to the legislature in my second term, which was about 2021, I started just talking to my friends who are suburban dads, dudes in the suburbs, and all of them were using marijuana. I mean, they're doing gummies or, lotions or whatever the case might be, like all of them. And I was like, wow, I was a military guy and we weren't allowed to use it, and so I hadn't really, and I was really shocked. But then I was like, wow, these are, high functioning people, heads of families, executives at businesses or whatever, stand-up people in the community, and they've just come to accept that there's so many benefits to cannabis, to legalization, whether it's from a medical perspective or the many, many other benefits that it brings. And I just decided it was time to author a bill. So I put forward a bill in the 134th General Assembly, which was the first effort at legalization. My colleague Terrence Upchurch, who's a fantastic representative from Cleveland, authored that bill with me. We got a wave of press and media. A bunch of my Republican colleagues reached out and said, yeah, this is great, let's do it. And then it promptly got parked in committee and didn't get a single hearing at all, that entire General Assembly. Even though if it had come to the floor, been allowed to come to the floor for a vote, I think it probably would have had the votes to pass. So we came back this last General Assembly and authored HB 168, which is a bipartisan bill with my colleague, Representative Jamie Callender, which, again, puts forward legalization, provides for revenues to local communities for social equity programs, establishes a social equity program to allow communities that have been disproportionately impacted negatively from how our laws and how this industry was handled legally benefit from it. That bill also got parked in committee. We got one hearing on it. And then, this fantastic mobilization effort with Issue 2 was really able to cut through the blockade of a few folks in leadership in the legislature who were not allowing this bill to progress. And I was amazed and really admired the Issue 2 campaign for how incredibly well it was run and how little opposition there was to it. I mean, I'm pretty plugged in and looking at what's going on there. And I think folks just understood, all the way up to Governor DeWine, who is a total reefer madness guy. Like, I've had personal conversations with him about this. But he also can read the room and understood that this is where Ohioans were at. So fast forward to where we are now. I'm truly excited. I've got friends in the industry. I've got neighbors in the industry. I'm so excited for what this is doing for our state. I understand the numbers I had were $50 million in sales, somewhere probably north of that now, since recreational started. Ohio State had it pegged at $400 million plus in annual sales, 10% with the 10% revenue going back into communities, in particular communities that are hosting dispensaries, which are often communities that need these revenues the most. It is a fantastic story about how targeted revenues from the state are going to benefit those communities. Small business, creating jobs, providing benefits to people, it's a really wonderful thing that we've done in Ohio, and I'm really, really heartened by how the industry has taken off in concert with simultaneously with our really strong medical program. So I do want to talk for a moment about where we go from here. My bill is still out there. I've got a bill that works on expungement. Issue 2 didn't quite get to where we really want to go, and so you've been, the industry, we're incredible partners in the crafting of legislation, obviously in how Issue 2 was done, which was done so well, but we still need your help. I'm always open for feedback on how we can continue to make the regulatory environment better, how we can continue to expand the market. As we add more licenses, we know it's going to continue to grow, but I'm here to help and here to listen and also continue to help communities that have been impacted negatively over the years make this right, ultimately. So, be here this evening. Jim's got my contact info, easy to get a hold of. Very responsive and really, really welcome your feedback going forward, and thank you for your partnership and for all you're doing for our state. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We want Casey to stick around, too, to answer questions. So we're going to get on our panel now. Folks on the panel, please walk up here, and I'll let you guys introduce yourselves and give your spiel about yourself and your business. And really, the people I work with on this, we want these to be useful. So you guys have a seat. Yeah, I can sit here. It's good.
Also next to the tallest guy.
At least I gotta speak first, though.
So I have questions for the panel, but I want you folks to participate and ask questions. We really are building this industry in Ohio in real time right now, which is really cool to be a part of. I really believe it's a great time to be alive, as we're all part of the falling of prohibition, and we get to see what I think is going to be. We're part of a great healing of this country in many respects, and it's a country in the world that really needs cannabis, and human beings need access to it in rational ways. I believe that. It's very helpful to me personally. It's helped me deal with anxiety for a long time, so I don't think about everything that I have to do all at once, and helps me keep perspective. And I'm a father of 3, right? I'm a good dad, but I like cannabis, and I need it. So I don't burden anybody with it, and it's been very helpful. So that's my own personal story, and I think I like everybody sharing their personal story about it, and that's when we start seeing normalization. And we see how this plant can really help humanity in many respects. So glad everybody came again. So let's get to the panel here, and I guess we'll go down this way, and you guys could just introduce yourself.
Yeah. I guess I'll start. My name's Lucas Gould. I'm the founder and CEO of Spendr. We are a technology company. We work with cannabis dispensaries, brands, and consumers in Ohio, Michigan, Arizona, California, and a couple more markets soon to be announced. Helping people with payments, rewards, and marketing, just trying to help normalize the industry, give people an easier way to buy cannabis and find cannabis, and also big believers in the plant. So happy to be here, Jim. Thanks for having us.
My name's Zach Weprin. I started certified cultivators with my father and some friends. We are a level 1 cultivator processor and retailer. Just opened up our first dispensary in South Euclid a couple weeks ago. We got a handful of dispensaries that we're working on in the pipeline. Grateful to have a seat at the table here. Thank you, Jim, for including me and inviting me here. Insanely grateful to be an operator in the community and be a part of this cannabis industry here in Ohio, and I'm excited to be up here with these guys. So thanks again, and looking forward to tonight.
Cool. Thanks, Zach. Hi, everybody. I'm David Haley. I'm the owner and founder of Ancient Roots. We're one of the level 2s cultivators, and right now we're 100% solventless processor in Wilmington, Ohio. And what a great time to be alive, right? I mean, finally got to adult use. There's still a lot of unknowns going into this, but really just glad to be up here, glad to be here in general, and I appreciate the opportunity. So.
Hi, my name is Geoff Korff. I'm the founder and CEO of Galenas. We're a level 2 cultivator based out of Akron. Same story as everybody else. Been in the program since the beginning. And we're glad that we're finally here. We're looking forward to the trajectory of the market continuing to go up, and social equity starting to roll out, and everything that is in issue 2 actually happening. We're like everybody else going to be expanding here in the next couple of months. We're going to be opening our first dispensary in Parma, outside of Cleveland, and we're just continuing to look forward to everything going up.
Really briefly, in my 3rd term in the Ohio House, running for the state Senate, live in Hudson, Ohio, up in Summit County, and again, happy to be here and part of the panel.
All right, so while we have Casey here and we have all these operators on the panel, this is a little different, maybe a little meta. Let's ask, would want one of you to ask Casey a question on how to make the present industry better. What can the legislature do to help you guys out to make it better? So while we have Casey, so he's working with all these guys that affect the future. So let's do. Anybody have a question? Strong question? I knew Geoff does.
So one of the things we're really restricted on, Representative Weinstein, is is our ability to communicate with consumers. It used to be the patients, now it's still patients and consumers. Our marketing is very restricted, and all of the channels that we have to communicate are very restricted. Just talking to people in their 30s and 40s, which is how old I am, I think half the adults don't know that we're adult use yet. It seems like unless you watch the news for that 10 days that the market was rolling out, you didn't know what was going on. And so I guess the challenge is to see whether or not we can get some combination of the legislature or the executive, our governor, to make a decision to not muffle us so much or muzzle us so much as this program is starting to grow.
We have 2 opportunities to do that coming up. One is in lame duck, which is the post-election period, but before the new legislature is seated. Legislation can move really, really quickly. Amendments can be added on to legislation really, really quickly. So, we usually go through the night and floods of bills hit the floor. So it's an opportunity for sure now that the market is out there, and it's something that we recognize can continue to be improved and maximized. I think it's a great chance after the election to reach out to your legislatures for that. The second swing is going to be the budget, which is the first thing that we'll tackle next year, the new 136th General Assembly. And you can get a lot of these rules done and crafted in that time. If not, then I'm always happy to sponsor meetings with Commerce and the right regulatory agencies to make sure that your voice is heard and that we can continue to improve this.
All right, so I want these, and my phone's ringing, sorry. That's the first time. So I want to predict the future a little bit and then maybe help guide the folks on how we get to this future with cannabis. So I'm kind of curious about 1 year, 5 year, 10-year prognostication on where this industry is going. So anybody want to jump on, hand the mic, have a strong opinion? Anybody want to?
There's a lot of growth ahead of us. Like you guys were talking about earlier, there's a lot of cannabis consumers here in Ohio. I was diagnosed with Crohn's when I was 12 years old. I've been consuming cannabis for a very long time. My father's been consuming cannabis for a very long time. We got into this business with the attitude of why not me, why not us? I started my first business down the street from here in 2010 in the restaurant industry, and I built a fast casual sushi chain for about 10 years in Ohio, and it's good to see some familiar faces like, Dylan over there used to work at Fusion. Nate used to be a bartender across the street. Nate's our cultivation manager. There's endless opportunity here in Ohio for job opportunity for, we have 140 employees in our operation up in Dayton between our lab, our kitchen, our cultivation. We're maniacally focused on producing one great batch after another. These guys know how hard it is to grow really good, high-quality cannabis consistently over and over through execution. So at the end of the day, our goal and dream is to keep growing and building our team and selling 1 gram at a time. The same way we used to say in the restaurants, 1 sushi roll at a time. It's one gram at a time. So I'm a consumer of my own product. I go in the stores, I buy it, and I'm grateful again to be here and for the opportunity to keep growing more cannabis and serving Ohio. And I'm from Ohio. I've been here my whole life. These guys are from Ohio as well. Having the opportunity to build a story and a brand in Ohio is a way. I know we're going to talk about how we compete with large corporations here in a little bit, but we do it 1 jar at a time, one soon-to-be pre-roll at a time. Can't wait for those. There's a lot of growth here and a lot of opportunity for a lot of people in this room and a lot of people in Ohio. And like I mentioned, seeing guys like Dylan and I come from food and beverage and hospitality. There's a lot of similarities in cannabis, and that's why you probably saw me wearing that hat earlier. A big fan of the Rheingeist guys, and when the opportunity to come here was great. The guy that started Rheingeist started a coffee shop in the Carew Tower when we started our first restaurant, and look what he's built. Through hard work, dedication, focus on product, brand, over and over and over again, building the right team. The opportunity is endless. So, just grateful to be a part of it.
Awesome. So I actually didn't hear the question. It was a little.
Projections where you see it heading 1 year, 5 year, 10 year.
Oh wow. How about 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? I mean. I really do think Ohio is in a very unique position here within the cannabis industry. Not only for the size of our population, but just look at the entrepreneurial spirit. I'm standing next to Zach. This is his second business, right? And we're both from the Dayton area. I grew up in Kettering, in Oakwood. So, there's such a rich history, especially within the Dayton area. At the turn of the century, we literally. I think per capita we had the highest rate of patents in the country, and I think that entrepreneurial spirit is still alive in Ohio, and I hope it is. And that's one of the things that I was going to ask our legislators is to allow that entrepreneurial spirit of Ohio, the history of the entrepreneurial spirit in Ohio, let it go. And we can lead in this industry. We can do it the best. We have great work ethic. I think we've got great values, and I think we can really make a difference in the industry overall if we're able to. And that really is the key: is to unleash, the entrepreneurial spirit that dates back to the Wright brothers. I grew up in Kettering. I'm literally grew up 20 minutes from where Flight was. Well, there's a little debate there, I guess, a little bit, but at least where it started, right? The design of it. But I think we're in a very unique, position here. Not only can we just be one monster of a, because of our population, I think obviously we can be a huge market in itself, but I really think we can be in a great position to really lead, and I really hope we get an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, only thing to add is to I guess to try to answer your question, Jim, I think over the course of the next year, the way the program is going to roll out is going to be kind of gradual. Not to say that certain dispensaries haven't seen fairly dramatic upticks in foot traffic and business, but I think in the aggregate for the entire state, we're going to see month-over-month growth, but it's not going to be like this massive precipitous growth. I think it's really going to take the new retail locations coming online for everyone to kind of understand and see, oh, this is real now, in order for just the visibility of the industry to kind of get there. Right now, I believe we have something like 120 dispensaries in Ohio, and by the end of the year next year, we are theoretically supposed to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 330 or so. And so not quite triple, but almost in terms of the number of dispensaries that are going to be out there. I think that kind of additional visibility is what is really going to drive sort of the dramatic growth that we're going to see in the industry. So if I was going to make a prediction, I would say first 6 months or so are going to be kind of a gradual uptick, and thereafter it's going to get more pronounced.
Lucas, I want to get you involved here. So technology-wise, how is technology going to influence the industry? 1 year, 5 years, whatever. Where are we heading?
Yeah, I think technology has a big opportunity to help both retailers and brands. I think Geoff mentioned the challenge of just connecting with consumers and connecting with patients, and it's been really difficult for you guys, and it's really unfortunate. We're on the other side, so we are able to connect with our users and people who buy Zach's products and shop at your dispensaries, and it's really interesting to see, how people's journeys have changed as the program has ramped up, as it's then turned to adult use. We're able to get that feedback directly, and so we do believe technology can play a part in helping connect, consumers to their favorite brands, consumers to their favorite dispensaries, helping making that connection, more seamless, more effective, but also just helping the retail experience generally. I think if we're going to go to 330 dispensaries, there's going to be a lot of dispensaries in the same area, the same town, and how do you compete when, a lot of you guys are selling similar products at the same pricing? I think it really comes down to that retail experience, and I really believe technology can play a part in helping enhance that experience, helping enhance your relationship with your customers, giving your bud tender more time back so that they can actually engage and talk to a customer and help them figure out what's gonna work for them. And so we're big believers. Obviously, we're biased, in technology and how it can play a part in the retail setting, but also in the brand setting. We see a lot of consumers, they're shopping for their favorite brands. They love, I know all of your guys' products. I tried them all. I love them. But that's what consumers are shopping for, right? They're shopping to find their favorite things. And, our goal is to just make that connection easier and help both brands and retailers grow in what's going to be a continually competitive market. But we definitely think we can help.
So I'm involved in both the hemp side and, like I say, dispensary channel, marijuana side, representing clients in both. So I see what I'm most busy doing now is a lot of hemp-derived cannabis Delta-9 distribution-related deals, particularly on the beverage side. So there's the approach of trying to tamp down the hemp-derived market and this competition that's going on between the both. I'm a fan of normalization, and I think the way we can get it rationally into the nooks and crannies of society and let normalization play out, the better. That's my own personal perspective. But I'm curious if any of you gentlemen have an opinion on how hemp-derived and dispensary channel side distribution can coexist and quit fighting. So I'd like to see that happen. Anybody? Opinion?
Yeah, it really is. Time is going to tell. I think the biggest thing is that we need to be on a level playing field, to start with, and obviously, I think you can make an argument that this is a result of. Well, no, never mind. I'm not going to say that. But sometimes when you don't think legislation through all the way, bad things can happen. And so I think the THC market in itself, obviously, they're trying to get around, the farm bill, the rules that were issued in the farm bill. Like I said, maybe there is an argument there that technically it should be, is legalized, but it's got to be regulated, and we've got to be on a level playing field. So, whether the hemp market is tamped down through new legislation or if it's just regulated, that's the key, right? Because Literally anybody can put something in a cart and sell it at a gas station right now and call it whatever they, THCA, whatever, or Delta 8 or whatever. And that just, for obvious reasons, that is not beneficial, not only for cannabis in general, but, obviously for our society, right? I mean, I've got 4 kids under the age of 14, and I don't want I don't even use that crap, right? I mean, I think at the very least, we need to, we got to be on the same playing field. I mean, this stuff has got to be regulated and tested. Whether it continues on and grows and thrives out of a market, time will tell. Obviously some bigger players within the cannabis, marijuana industry are jumping ship and getting in. Whatever. I don't believe in that personally. It's like, I think you got to choose a side here and you got to go with it, in my personal opinion. I think that farm rule was obviously meant to be more on the size of fabrics and using hemp in other ways. This whole Delta 8 stuff was, nobody ever thought of it, and clearly they didn't know enough about cannabis to understand not to include THCA in the limit. Time will tell. I mean, that's all we can really do. But yeah, at the very least, we need it needs to be regulated clearly. I mean,
last night talking to somebody from the Hemp Roundtable, and a lot of these organizations they want regulated, right? They see the opportunity in the low dose category, and I've seen that play out too. I mean, I had dinner with some soccer moms that were drinking THC beverages, 5 milligram. Those may not sell in the dispensary so well, though, right? But maybe it makes some sense to get that out there at mom and pops, or maybe here like at Rheingeist eventually, right? So I think that's only my opinion. I think they can coexist, but to your point, I think there definitely needs to be some rational regulation, which we got Casey here on the panel. Can you speak to that a little bit on hemp regulation?
We took a crack at hemp in the 133rd General Assembly, and we did. Rep Juanita Brent is phenomenal on this issue. I am not a leader on hemp, but it's the Agriculture Committee. In terms of your outreach and your efforts, that will be the committee that would hear and advance that legislation. And we passed a bill. Tim might know this better than I do. I think in the 133rd on hemp allowing for the growth of the product. And I'm not 100% sure exactly where we're at from a regulatory perspective now, except to say there's definite bipartisan support for doing something on that space.
You should get on a drone or something. So, Zach, you made a point earlier about really I think we talked about how to grow a successful business, and you indicated it's about growing the best possible cannabis that you can grow and consistently, right? Can you share a little wisdom on how you got there, how you maintain it, that you're doing it, and how you grow great cannabis? Because it's really what the industry is all about. So how do you growing high grade, wonderful cannabis at competitive prices?
Well, most of us are kind of figuring it out as we go, because there's no playbook for building these type of businesses. It's solely focused on the team that you build. And I've had a lot of different people on the team over the years, and a lot of my team that's here, you see Ron Owens here and Angela Hamilton and Nate, I have the best team, and the best teams always win. So it's solely focused on building the culture. Cannabis culture is we're cannabis consumers. So when you have the right team, you build the right facility. A lot of little things have to come together over and over and over again to make it right. We've made a ton of mistakes. We've lost a lot of money, made big mistakes. As long as we're learning from them, growing from them, getting better, and focused on building a long-term sustainable business. Heather from Right Pat's here I don't know if you guys work with lenders in Ohio, but Right Pat is leading the charge here in Ohio. Insanely grateful for them helping us get to where we're at. Managing cost of capital, thinking cash flow. these are normal businesses. Once you get behind past the sex appeal of the product itself, you have to run a strong business that will last over the years and can survive when you make mistakes and keep growing. So we haven't always had great product, but when we have a bad batch, we fix it, we correct it, and we keep moving forward. So there is no specific answer. It's a daily practice, shift after shift, and a team effort. So how we work together on a day-to-day basis, how we make decisions, the values that we live by, how we operate. It's a daily grind, and like I said earlier, insanely grateful to be an operator in the space. I come from food and beverage. Cannabis, when you take away the product, it's no different than alcohol or food or anything else. And there's good operators, there's bad operators, there's mediocre operators, and and people can taste that. They can feel it when they're consuming your product. Like, you meet people here that can tell the difference from. I mean, I'm learning. I'm a customer. I love my product. I've been smoking some strawberry lemonade this week. It's been great. I needed it after the last couple weeks. It was pretty stressful, but I'm starting to be able to tell the difference from batch to batch. And really, when I'm talking to Nate about the difference between one strain to the next and learning from him, like, I'm learning from everybody around me. So I don't have the answer, but my goal is to meet the right people, build the right team, and be grateful for having a seat at the table and being able to make those decisions. So, and I think that's how you build long-term sustainable brands. Yeah, that's.
It pretty much took the words, I'm guessing, out of our mouths, because it really does come down to the culture and the people. I think any entrepreneur, and if you've heard me speak, I try to say this almost every time. I mean, if you're honest, your success is going to come for the people that you surround yourself with. If you're the smartest guy in the room, you're screwed. You're in trouble. And so I think you definitely have to create, that culture and find the right people that really, most cannabis consumers that go on to want to work in the industry, they want to work in the industry because they understand the importance of quality and they take great pride. And they'll flourish if you allow them to operate in that manner, not to cut corners, to do things the right way. We are 100% solventless. We're 100% solventless because I believe in it from a medicinal standpoint. Like, to me, if we're going to call this medicine, which I believe it is, there shouldn't be any residual, potential of any residual solvents in it, period, in my opinion. Now, could I have done anything else and made a hell of a lot more money? Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one of the things with solventless that, we need to figure out as an industry is, how do we get the yields that you can get with BHO and with ethanol and some of the other things, and I think we will eventually get there. And I think that, obviously solventless is the future, but it is not the best way to make a lot of money in this industry. But it is the best way to help a lot of people, and that is our ultimate goal. Everybody in my building understands that's our goal, and we're going to stick with that. So I think, culture is incredibly important.
So I want to open it up to the crowd here. So while we have these gentlemen here, so anybody have any questions that they want to ask? Tim, I know you're gonna have a question or something. This gentleman right here. Yeah.
Thank you, and appreciate everybody being here tonight. It's kind of unique that we're sitting here in Rheingeist, which has been mentioned. This is a perfect example of a company building a brand and really making the most out of the quality, distribution, all of the things that drive a business successes. One of the things, having worked now in this industry, and it's great to see both owners and legislature here, I see one of the greatest hindrances right now for the ability of the cannabis industry to flourish is the regulatory environment. I mean, at the end of the day, and I'm just going to use this as an example, you could have a bottle of beer with Santa Claus on it to really sell a Christmas-related ale. You are totally handicapped by the Department of Commerce today on what you can and can't do. How do we go from where we're at now to where we look and feel like a alcohol business? And what do you think that's going to take? Even if without a national level mandate, but at a state level, how do we get there?
Anybody?
I don't know.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody really knows. You know what? To some degree, I think for us, it was probably a good thing that it was hard to operate in, to get started, and allowed us to, learn and make mistakes. And but you focus on building relationships and making friends and building deep, meaningful connections within your community, with your team, with your people, and people buy from people that they like. That's from our, us to our customers, and then also to the final customers. So, Ohio's the 24th state to have an adult use program. There's 38 states across the country. The momentum is continually moving in a direction where it's socially acceptable to talk about cannabis around the dinner table, around, talking about cannabis with your 4 kids. 10 years ago, my dad would sit around the dinner table and he'd get yelled at by my mom saying, "There's no way that cannabis helps Crohn's and Zach, but every time I smoke a joint, it helps me go to the bathroom." So I can talk about that now, whereas 10 years ago it wasn't as socially acceptable. So I think as society, it continues to become more a part of our culture. It's more under, things continually move in a positive direction. So I think that positive momentum's continually building, and I hope and I think that it will continually make it easier for us to operate, easier for us to deal with compliance and deal with all this stuff and the challenges that we have. Hope.
I can actually maybe answer this a little bit, just from our perspective, as I see what's going on in many states, handling clients and matters in different states, and so I've got to look at different markets, and I think how Ohio can get stronger and get more normalization and rational regulation, and how our industry is conducted is through organization, right? Things like this, bringing people together, but real organization to educate the legislators on what cannabis is all about, and this is how you rationally regulate us, and this is the real risk that exists. I look at Missouri. MoCan trade there is Missouri is a thriving, functioning market, and they're really maxing out. We have more population, and we all know Ohioans like cannabis too. So I know every cul-de-sac in the state of Ohio, there's somebody probably with some weed, and there's grows in every neighborhood probably, right? It's everywhere. So humans love cannabis. It's inevitable. So more organization. So I think, more participation in trade organizations here in Ohio. If you don't like the one we have, let's start one and educate the regulators and legislators on how to do it appropriately. It's inevitable. I think prohibition's going to fall. We're seeing it happen. It's strange in a very cannabis way how it's happening gradually across the country, but it is what it is. But I agree with you when you say, cannabis operators have had to operate with both hands tied behind their back, paying way more in taxes, while also having to pay for compliance and everything else. So the margins are tight. So the businesses have to be lean and mean, and it's hard to make mistakes. And when you can't make mistakes, you're on your game. So that's why I think there's a lot of MSOs going to be coming out of Ohio brands. They're going to be licensed in various states, and it's exciting. But we need to get organized, and I think things will improve, which is happening. Anybody else want to? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in normalization. I think it's really what it takes. We have to demystify cannabis in itself and the whole experience around cannabis. How do you find it? How do you buy it? How do you experience it? We have to make it easier. We have to make it more normal. We have to bring in more modern solutions, people who know how to build businesses that can build a sustainable model, push out good quality product that helps people's experience. And I think the more we do that, the more likely we are to have our legislature come in and actually try to make changes to the regulations. I think anybody who can thrive in a regulatory intensive space, though, has a great chance to win, because you guys have figured out how to navigate it with your hands tied behind your back. And it's a big opportunity. We say we have a regulatory moat. We can operate. We don't have to worry about big guys coming in. And so I think they figured it out, but the hope is that it gets easier over time, and more people can come in.
Anybody else want to jump in on that one? And, any other questions out here? Tim? Yeah, you were next.
All right, for Zach, you pay close attention because you can't say, no, I don't know. No, with full respect to all of you guys and a big appreciation for what all of you do. I think, Casey, what I want to play off of is the word he brought up, amendment. But what I first want to say is if you notice across the United States, whenever a cannabis program is created in any state, medical or adult, the language drafted is to protect that government regulatory agency and to protect the license holders and set a framework for them. As in issue 2, and thanks to the 2.2 million people in Ohio that voted for it, issue 2, with full respect, was an epic failure when it came to addressing standalone processors, when it came to addressing consumer protections, and when it came to addressing criminal justice reform. In April, I dropped 22 amendments to issue 2 to try to clear up the gray area in the law as far as the rules protecting what your life and blood of your business is, the patient and the consumer coming through the door. They're the ones spending money. What is it that you guys think you can do as a collective to support representatives, legislators like Casey here, soon to hopefully be a senator, and other legislators at the State House that are all pro-cannabis, many of them? What can you guys do as a collective to get together and submit amendments to him to help out the legislators to move forward to build your program stronger and healthier? And as far as for the people in the audience, for you guys, what can you do? I want you to ask yourself that. It's real simple. It's legislature.ohio.gov. Reach out, 132 legislators, not just 2. They all vote for you. And what can you give to them to help move the program? Because Ohio's in a unique spot to build a leading program in the United States. We really are. We always complain about regulations and so forth, but by staying on track and doing the thing, I think we could be the best practice of all cannabis programs in the U.S. I've been around cannabis for 48 years. I'm an Air Force veteran like Casey. I'm also retired law enforcement. I've spent the last 9-10 years at the State House trying to build this program, and it's what I want to do. Build it better and build it stronger. So what do you guys think you might be able to do to help do that?
Thanks, Tim. I don't want you to think we're not trying. We're definitely trying. I mean, we're as mobilized, I think, in Columbus as we can be right now. I mean, speaking for myself and some of the other kind of Ohio-based or kind of more independent operators, lobbying is hard. Like talking to legislators and actually making that something that you do on a day-to-day for your business is hard because nobody makes money by lobbying. You're just, most of the time it's like a defense tactic. You're just trying to stop your legislature from hurting you. Sorry. But we are actively doing it. I mean, and some of the things that you mentioned, Tim, we had language that we've drafted ourselves or tried to have legislators draft to drop into some of the bills that have been proposed that have, to different varying degrees, sort of moved, but not really. There's so much inertia in Columbus right now, and frankly, I think that a lot of the very, very senior leadership in Columbus is still kind of upset about issue 2 and the fact that this got forced on them. And so we're not going to stop trying, but we've learned, I think, over the course of the past couple of years that legislation moves in sort of these big swings. It doesn't happen inside of one General Assembly. It's like one to another until you kind of build up enough critical mass to actually get something done. And so we are trying to get something done. I agree there's the fact that we don't have anything for expungement, that's got to get fixed. The fact that we still have sort of market conditions that are a little bit upside down for certain operators, that could certainly stand to be addressed. And there's a lot. I won't name every topic, but we're not trying. It's just really hard. And it's also really hard when it's not like your core business. Like none of us are lobbyists. We just learned that we got to go to Columbus and talk. Otherwise, we get run over. So does that answer the question?
And I appreciate everything you guys have done. You've done a lot. For me, I'm 15 minutes from the State
Yeah, and I agree. On the mention of the number, you're right. Our current run rate, I think, in the first month was what, like 50 million? Yeah. So by comparison, Michigan has 2 million people less than Ohio. It's 12 million to 10 million. And they're very, very mature adult use market, does about $250 million a month in sales. And so obviously there's a big delta between where we are now and where Michigan is, and it's going to keep moving in the right direction, but it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take work legislatively, and it's going to take work on behalf of all the operators to make sure that we're in a competitive market and it's not just this really sort of small program that only a few people get to participate in.
Oh, that's okay.
Anybody else? I saw a hand before. Okay, cool. And then I think Casey has to leave here, so if it's is it for him? Perfect.
Awesome. Sounds good. Hi, I'm Nate. I'm the cultivation manager at Certified Cultivators. Just a huge question that I hear that you guys talk about is culture, right? You can't write an SOP for culture. That is something that you cannot do. That is something that is instilled in people, right? But we have to remember where that culture comes from, and that comes from all the people's hard work over the years, of basement grows, underground grows, of where everything started, right? Something that's huge happening in Ohio right now that's a question is, a lot of people are seeing a lot of flyovers, a lot of scrutiny, a lot of people are getting raided right now and getting, pushback, and you didn't see this when we were in a medical market, but now it's starting to happening with this recreational, now that we can have 6 plants at home underneath a personal and now 12 plants with the significant other in the household. There's somebody who's being charged up right now in Cleveland with a felony 3 for only having 8 plants in their house. So I just want to know, how are we going to start actually, if we are creating a culture and we are creating this for Ohio, it seems like we're kind of going backwards a little bit in the sense of, why are we going after some of these people, or why are we doing this and wasting a lot of tax dollars? The one that they had to most recently raid in Dayton, they didn't even have anything to do, so they just let the man go. So, you had flyovers and a whole team of SWATs, DEA coming to a man's house just for no reason, and now you're seeing that across the board, and I feel like you're seeing that a huge ramp up right now than we did even just in the medical market. So I'm just a little, we want to create this culture for Ohio. I feel like we're kind of regressing just a little bit.
How do we stop the flyovers? One thing that I'm curious about, I would like to see some data on how many people took on boyfriends and girlfriends to get 6 more plants that they could grow. I'm curious about that. You want to talk about that?
This, one thing you need to know about the legislature is that we, not me, but the leaders in the legislature draw their own districts, and they do that to insulate themselves from the public will and ensure that they don't have to answer to the median voters. So when something like issue 1 or issue 2 happens, that bubble bursts and like a vacuum, air sucks in and it just hits them in the face and they really react. They kind of lash out. And I want to make one comment to Geoff's point before answering yours. The fact that they have not rolled back a lot of issue 2, because remember, this was statutory, this wasn't constitutional, is a huge win for the industry, a huge win. There were efforts and whip counts and all kinds of things going on to immediately roll the industry back, and all those efforts failed. So you're making progress, and that goes to the longer term answer to your question, is there's a little bit of a whiplash effect, I think, when this happened so fast, and it happened from the citizens, it didn't happen from the legislature. And I think you will see a normalization. I really, really do. You're already a big industry. You're a growing industry. The culture is rapidly, rapidly shifting. And I think, there will be more acceptance of home grow. There will be, adaptation and growth in the industry and a better regulatory environment as we kind of catch up to the will of the voters. The legislature and the administrative state are way behind where Ohioans are right now. So I think we'll get there. Sorry I don't have a better answer for you, but we will.
Yep.
I 100% agree with you. I'm a I'm an emotional leader that kind of rides the waves and the ups and the downs, and the Rons and the Angelos can feel that as I'm operating day to day. But if we were to, go 10,000 feet above and kind of, look at a longer period of time, we're seeing a ton of progress really fast. So as, I might have felt frustrations in this, environment, but I think when I look back 3, 4, 5 years down, 10 years down the road, a lot will have happened in a very short period of time, and it'll all be progress. So things take, decades to build, not necessarily, weeks or months. So I think you had I liked your answer.
We also need to sue them. So we need to sue the sheriff's departments and that are violating the law. Like, hey, look, I'm just here lawfully growing my plants under state law, right? The federal government has to catch up. But that's got to happen. So I know some lawyers. So you got a lawyer up and somebody's violating your privacy, you're going to have to sue them. Right, Tim? Maybe? What do you think? Well, one more question, all right? I want everybody to have a chance to network and talk. So one more question. This is the last one.
I'll be quick. So I know the legislature was written and kind of rolled out fairly quickly, and I know that supply demand in some other markets has not really met the needs of consumers. Like in Connecticut, there was a large shortage because they rolled out too quickly and did not let cultivators and manufacturers expand at the rate that they needed to meet that demand. Do you feel that Ohio did that, and how are you guys adapting to deal with it?
So built into issue 2 was some level of expansion for all the existing cultivators. I think that it will be sufficient for like a certain period of time. And beyond that certain period of time, say 12 to 18 months, we'll be undersupplied again. So right now, everybody's trying to expand, and the supply in the market is going to grow. Prices will hopefully, normalize for everybody out there, and then we'll be at capacity. There's no like mechanism that exists in the law right now to allow further expansion, other than there's a little line that says Commerce will review the supply situation every 2 years. And so I think that no matter what, there is going to have to be some additional legislation that deals with the supply situation in Ohio, and that's pretty normal. There's very rarely a state that deals with like the supply and demand metric exactly correctly right out the gate. So I'm less concerned about the supply situation in Ohio in the short term. In the long term, though, I think I agree with you. We will probably be undersupplied as this market gets closer to kind of Michigan levels of consumption and of demand.
Yeah, how do we get more flower to the processors? That's one thing, too. I hear that a lot. No biomass available. So anybody answer that? This one, sorry, I said that was the last one, but I'm curious about that. How do we get more flower to the...
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure if there's a shortage just yet of biomass. I mean, I'm not the best one to speak to that. I mean, I got an email today asking if I wanted some fresh frozen as a cultivator. So I think it's out there. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it, as far as supply and demand, I mean, it just time will tell. I mean, right now there is no shortage. There was absolutely no reason to jack up the prices the way that some operators did. I mean, literally zero if we're truly looking at supply and demand, okay? But a lot of it is going to depend on how much we can compete with the black market. And with the prices the way they are today, we're not competing. We're not competing with the black market, and we're not competing with Michigan. And unless we can talk legislators into building a big, beautiful wall between Michigan and Ohio, I don't think we're going to compete with Michigan for a while. And so, this needs, and keep in mind, I mean, this is obviously very, 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 very new, right? We're not even technically to, true legalization. We're still operating under the medical rules, and so a lot of this is gonna take time. But yeah, I mean, I think once it gets mature, and again, I don't know at like this very moment if there truly is a shortage or not. I don't know. I suspect that there probably is, or this wouldn't, be talked about so much. And look, it's called the revised, code for a reason. So I think with continued lobbying, and hopefully, everybody is in a fair and competitive position. And so if that means that, some changes need to be made with the laws to protect, some licensees, then, so be it.
I know how we beat Michigan's ass. I'm a Buckeye, so I can say that. We got to allow. We need outdoor. We need outdoor grow. We have this glorious fireball in the sky that we can utilize to grow lots of cannabis and get cheaper extracts for sure. Michigan's killing us with the outdoor grow. So anyway, Casey, outdoor grow, man, we got to get that going. Any other questions, short questions? Otherwise, like the biggest part of this is networking. I love hearing everybody talk, and I hope people are getting jobs and deals are happening, and yeah. Oh, you got a question? Sorry.
How you doing? My name is Solomon Oyeyemi, and to the point about the biomass and the shortage, I'm actually an owner of a brand, and we've been in since 2021, and just wondering, that is a thing. I think it is really a thing, and I'm just hoping that we can place more eyes on the white label owners in Ohio to make sure that we are not having to compete so hard with some of these bigger MSOs that are seemingly coming in right now, So I just wanted to make that be known. He's already out the door, but hopefully you can relay that message to him. Hopefully you can relay that message. Also, this is a 2-point. I am also work with Ohio CBD guys, so I work on both sides of the game, and I'm hoping that we can come with more unity in the aspect of when it comes to talking about both sides and talking about making everything work in Ohio, So just wanted to put that out there.
I want to thank everybody for coming. This is wonderful. We're going to keep doing these events, and we're doing them. We'll probably do something up north in Ohio, so we're going to keep doing them. So be on the lookout for that. Everybody drive safely, and thank you to Rheingeist. This place is awesome. What a venue. So give them a round of applause. And I hope let's make some friendships out here, right? So that concludes the presentation portion, and I'm Jim. Feel free to come up to me and talk. I love talking about cannabis beverage. I like talking about consumption lounges. I want to see that happen. So anybody interested in talking about that, please feel free to come up here and talk to me. So thank you.